Hey, this is Randall, and welcome to Blueprint Pros. I am so glad you are here. I promised you we were going to get started on COVID-19 and the supply chain impact. And this is our series on what's our best interpretation based on the available data on what's going on in the various corporate supply chains right now that's going to represent an opportunity and a threat for your business. If you recall, in one of my previous videos on this page, I said, as a small business owner, one of the toughest things you have to do is you have to figure out how to keep your doors open. You got to figure out how to manage your cash flow. You got to figure out how to keep your employees. You got to figure out how to sustain revenue while paying your mortgage and everything else. And you have to position your business for what's coming next. And so my job in this conversation is to prepare you for what I believe you can reasonably expect. You can take the information I'm going to give you and temper it with your own business experience, information specific to your market, and things that you're getting from different sources that you are following, and come up with the best possible plan for your business. But what I wanted to show you is some of the things that I'm seeing and some of the things that I think you can anticipate. So hopefully, because as you'll recall, I mentioned to you, money is always flowing. What people forget right now is 25% of 160 million Americans that work, only 25% of them are out of work, which means 75% are working, which means that the companies that they work for are still spending money. Globally, same thing. Companies are still spending money, although we're in a pandemic. So the trick for you is to navigate where the money or where the water is currently flowing so that you can put your business where the money or the opportunities currently are. This is our intro session. So I'm just going to jump in quickly to give you some idea of how we're going to talk about this, how we're going to analyze it, and so that I don't waste your time, give you some ideas around as you look at it, which are some of the episodes you're probably going to want to stop in on and evaluate very quickly or not, whether or not you think there's an opportunity for your business. But more importantly, since we talk about strategic alliances in Blueprint Pros, what I'm really hoping to support you with here is to really and truly grasp how we're in the partner economy, how your ability to work with other businesses is going to determine the degree to which you actually start landing big corporate contracts, the degree to which you can build a legacy business you want to build, and get the contracts that you know you can handle by putting a team together that more than qualifies you for any opportunity that comes down the road. And so the number one thing that I always tell everyone that's gone through the curriculum is, before you start putting teams together, be comfortable that you know what the core business is for your business. Understand where the opportunities lie for your business. When you look 1 year, when you look 6 months, 1 year, 5 years out, if you say this is the one thing that we do better than anyone else, then once you know that, once you know where the market is that needs that, once you begin to make sure that there's a need for what you do and people are responding to it, then you can start figuring out who are the different partners that you need to give you a solution that will actually work in the marketplace. Don't do it in reverse. Don't put your team together before you know what you're really, really, really good at. So we're going to talk more about where the needs are. And as you start thinking through what the market can do with what you offer and the benefit that you can offer and the solutions and the value and whatnot that you bring, we're going to talk about that first. And then as you begin to see the shifts that are going on in the market, you can start saying, okay, all right, well, I've got this piece. Now here are the other pieces that I need, if you need them, And now I can start talking about getting a strategic alliance together that's actually going to win and achieve everything that I hope it's going to achieve. So that being the case, here we go. The COVID-19 and the supply chain impact series. This is our intro session. And so let's just talk about it. This is the supply chain. The supply chain, in this case, we're going to talk about both products and services. So first, let's look at products. Supply chain, definitionally, this is the definition that I use, is the physical, financial, and informational network that involves the movement of resources and related information throughout the process, from mining raw materials to the delivery of finished products to the end user. And in this case, what I want you to think about is there are two pieces to the supply chain for products. On the left-hand side, you see what we call the supply side. And in this case, the supply side, typically you'll see this in the marketplace as represented by the price that somebody's trying to sell something for. And if you go from beginning to end, there's typically some research and development. There's some design and marketing going on. There's some acquisition of raw material and components that goes into inventory, that leads to inspection, that goes to manufacturing and assembly, of which they then deliver or distribute through distribution. They then will invoice someone for it in the form of a price and servicing. So this is our side over here as suppliers. If we are providing products in the marketplace, this is it. If you are General Motors and you are buying tires, this is Firestone, Goodyear, all of these people over here. These are the people that are supplying the tires. This is what they do to go to the marketplace. This is us over here. Then there's the demand side, the actual acquisition, in which case we've got demand planning, sourcing, requisitioning, order, monitoring, follow-up, purchasing, negotiation and contracting, receiving and QA, QC, dispatching, and then payment for the actual item going on over here. So this, of course, is the Global 500 over here. This is over here, you're providing the need. Over here, they are consuming the need. Okay, so for the market that we're talking about, you've got two different sides going on in the supply chain. And what we do, clearly, we have an effect on this because this determines our cost or our price to the market. And we have an impact over here in terms of how what we do is used to create a final end product on the customer side. Let's look at this for services. There's a lot less involved. The big thing being that you probably have some facilities, space, you're bringing in labor. There may be some licensing involved. There may be some additional things that you put with the labor, depending on like a repair shop of some sort. There may be some components and parts, and there's probably travel and lodging involved. And then similar on the demand side, once again, if hypothetically this is a repair facility, if this is custom machinery over here on the supply side, if this is literally travel or leisure or whatnot, services, if this is professional services, consulting, professional services, HR support, legal support, you have all the different things going on over here. However, that fits in on the demand side pretty much the same in terms of what happens once it gets into their process, how they use it, so forth and so on. Now, what I additionally wanted to, and here we go. Let's just walk through them. So when we start talking about the Global 500, who represent roughly about $38 trillion in annual sales, what we're talking about are the following actual supply chains. And I'm going to differentiate in a second between a supply chain and a value chain. So let's just talk more about supply chains right now. So we've got aerospace and defense, airlines, apparel, banking, beverage, building materials, chemicals, computer software, construction, electronics, engineering and construction, entertainment, food production, general merchandising, healthcare, between insurance and managed medical facilities, pharmacy and other, household and personal products, HR, industrial machinery, and then to complete the list. And what I want you to take from this is, if you have primarily only looked at one industry, here are additional industries that have robust supply chains that may be where the money is flowing for what you do. Information technology services, number 17. Insurance, internet services, number 22. Metals, number 23. Mining, crude oil production, motor vehicles and parts. Remember, we just talked about General Motors. Motor vehicle parts would be like a Goodyear and whatnot. Oil and gas equipment, petroleum refining, pharmaceuticals, railroads, real estate, shipping, tobacco, trading, wholesalers in general, electronics. It's like, in this case, if you were selling to Staples or Office Depot or a big office supply, what you know, they have their own supply chain. What would you be doing with wholesalers, food and grocery? My goodness, that's going to be a huge topic for us in the next few episodes. Food and grocery, because the shift in that supply chain has just been amazing. So these are some 55. I've got them organized and collapsed because of similarity, like between wholesalers, number 48 there, and insurance is number 18, and previously. But these are the different supply chains out there. In other words, these are well-defined processes and systems that form various different industries out there. So if you are looking at what I call market segments, you might look at the companies, which is what we're actually going to do, the companies that are in each one of these market segments. We're going to take a peek at them, and we're going to go one by one, and in some cases, because they're interrelated, we'll talk about them individually, but we'll talk about some of them in groups in one of our sessions. But this is it, and yes, I'm going to send this to you in email as a PDF attachment, so you have this as a go-by, as a guide for subsequent sessions. So now, I mentioned to you, we talked about the supply chain. I want to talk to you about the value chain, because I wanted to give you the context to differentiate between the supply chain and the supply side and the demand side. And let's now bring this back home to the value chain in terms of when you start thinking about what you do, how does it all come together? So a number of us have services firms. We have things that make people healthier. We help management be more productive. We have accounting and information services. So in this case, we look at, this is Michael Porter's value chain. What we're looking at is you have support activities, procurement. In this case, if you have something that helps supply chain professionals be more effective, if you've got strategies that you can offer to them, information, communication, and technology. If you're supporting, 5G, or if you've got something that helps them monitor how efficient transportation is working, or HR, if you've got management training, or if you've got strategy development and whatnot, or if you're talking about, corporate facilities and whatnot with regard to their infrastructure, energy management, climate change, whatnot, you are looking at support activities. And all of these come to bear on the primary activities, but typically most companies are clearly trying to get better in this area, because as good as they are in the support activities, it drives their effectiveness in their primary activities. But this is an area that is always under cost pressure. All of this is under cost pressure, but because this part in and of itself is not considered revenue generation, there's a tremendous amount of oversight to make sure this, which is otherwise known as overhead, is controlled. Now, with COVID-19, what's going on is because you have a huge increase in demand, or in some cases, a decrease in demand in the primary activity, that determines how much of an increase in demand or decrease in demand that's going on here. That determines how much, how receptive a potential customer is to whether or not they need more help in this area, if they need their people to be more productive, if they need to lower their people costs because they've got too many people out sick, potentially being depressed from being sequestering inside their homes and whatnot, just having to stay home for the last 2-3 months, or having to shelter at home. And so they have different things they need to work on in order to keep this working. So there's a lot of opportunity here, but we're going to talk more about the supporting activities and how COVID-19 might impact this entire area in terms of whether there's a greater or lesser emphasis on it in the current environment. And of course, this one, if your business plays in this space, then of course, we'll talk more about what is the demand and supply, or the supply and demand issues that are going on in these 5 major areas. So that's it for today. I'll send this to you, and we're going to talk more a little later on, specifically about the various industries that we covered previously, and the industries here. We're going to talk more about those and the impact that we can anticipate going on in the value chain, or the impact that has been going on in the supply chain. So thanks for joining me. I'm looking forward to talking with you regularly about this and get you primed and ready to go so you can drive and make a difference in your business and the business of all your clients and customers and whom you serve. So thanks for joining me today. Take care. See you shortly. And I'm going to send you an email with this, a PDF of these slides and a link to this video to make it easy for you. But if you haven't done it, go into the group and tell us a little bit about who you are, who you serve, and some of the things that you're hopeful for your business. Everyone would like to meet you, get to know you, and hopefully figure out how they can support you, along with what me and my team are preparing for you. Take care. Have a great day. See you on the other side. Bye.